What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sunbelt Syndicate. For those of you who joined us for the baseball show last night, we appreciate it. We had two Georgia Southern players on and had a good time with those guys. I know that one was picking up some steam a little bit later today, and hopefully this one does as well. I know Thomas and I were going back and forth, and Zach and I were both really excited to get Thomas to jump on the show. As of yet, we haven't heard from him if anything's gone schedule change or anything. He is still noted to be coming on, so we'll just jump him in when he jumps on stream here and get going. But we'll keep you entertained the best we can up until that happens, because we haven't seen you guys in a little while as far as basketball is concerned, right, Zach?
Yeah, I think it was maybe a couple days before the tournament started.
Yeah, I feel like it was, because I know literally for the whole tournament I was out of town, away from all my stuff, trying to kind of, luckily on a family vacation, that by the time most of the games really got going, or ending, I guess, really, because the start of the early games sometimes I was missing, but I was able to catch most of the games. Like I said, the end of the first ones and mostly all of the second ones, staying up and awake for that stuff. So it turned out to be Tyler Alston. The champs are here. They are. And hopefully Thomas shows up and represents those champs there for the Trojans. I know a lot of people on the Trojan side of things were looking at the post earlier, so hopefully we'll get him to jump in here and get rolling. But yeah, I mean, Zach, I guess as an overview, did you end up liking the structure of the tournament, or did you think it kind of either didn't live up to expectations, or I don't know? What are your thoughts on how that tournament ran?
I mean, I think it was solid overall, but maybe I can see where the first two seeds are kind of not liking it. Obviously, they're sitting for 5 days plus the 4 days before their last game, so 9 days. So you're sitting 9 days, and then there's a team like Troy and Arkansas State who come in having a game under their belt, got a little more energy, a little more experience. So I can see where it hurts those teams.
Yeah, I do too, and I saw a lot of stuff online about how it heavily favors the better seeds, the better teams, and I was like, yeah, right. I mean, isn't that kind of what you want, right? You have a tournament that includes every single team, no matter how good or bad they did. So what's going to separate you and what's going to reward you for a good season? Making you play less games and putting you up closer to the top, playing less games. So it's next to impossible for a team like ODU to continue their run. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, Zach, what are your thoughts on that? It should be, right? I don't think you should get far in a tournament just because all of a sudden you were doing pretty well and now people want to see you win more. I mean, I just don't agree with I don't know, somehow putting ODU closer to the semis before, a run that they had.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense, but I was thinking about this in a league like the Sunbelt where it's so deep. Versus the WCC, they do the tournament the same way, and it's St. Mary's and Gonzaga are the 1 and 2 seeds, but they're by far the two best teams in the conference. So they're obviously going to win. But in a league like the Sunbelt, maybe you want a few extra games to play instead of waiting and letting a team get hot and roll right into you guys. So I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think we can look at it here again. I didn't edit this one. This was before it all started, right? This was the final bracket before it got going. But I mean, you got those 4 seeds up there at the top that all technically tied for first place. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like you and I both thought for the most part, most of those 4 seeds would be there. I know we incorrectly, well, actually neither of us thought Troy was going to win a game. So we're going to have to apologize to Thomas as soon as he jumps on. And to the Troy faithful, we were not believers, I guess. But I mean, it didn't shock me either, right? I mean, these 4 teams all tied with the same record. There was very little separation. They had to go to number 2 and 3 tiebreakers to get who was number 1 seed-wise for this tournament. And then, of course, there's the back and forth about splitting a trophy, or everyone gets a trophy and everything like that. I don't love that, right? If you get a number 1 seed, that to me, that's kind of your champion. I don't know. I hate that it ends on a tiebreaker, sure, but either that or don't call anybody a champion until they win the conference tournament. I mean, you got on that part of it?
Yeah, I mean, it would just make sense to just go off tiebreakers, and whoever wins the tiebreakers is crowned the regular season champion. yeah, you guys got the same record, but maybe these teams did some other things, like scored more points than you or allowed less points than you or beat you like head to head or something like that. And it gives them a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just not a big fan of like splitting trophies and everything like that. I know that football's championship game came around because of money and TV contracts more so than not having co-champions anymore, but just don't like the co-champs thing. Like, have a winner and a loser. I'm a hockey fan. I think I've said that a few times on this show throughout the time that I've run it. And the best thing hockey ever did was get away from letting teams tie, right? To me, I want to feel emotion. I want to feel my team, pride and joy when they win. And I'm okay with being disappointed or frustrated when they lose. Like, that's what helps me attach myself to sport, right? I don't want to be like, well, nobody won and nobody lost. And like, I think that's why soccer doesn't pick up here in America, right? There's way too many draws for a lot of American fans to really get into it. You sit through a whole thing and it's tied 1-1 at the end, and I don't know. I just like clear cut. Hey, 1, 2, 3. Maybe that's just me, but it sounds like Zach, you're on pretty much the same page as well. Get to some comments that we haven't hit just yet. Ben James is. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I think I have a problem with the tournament being in Pensacola now. I think.
Okay.
Because, they didn't send any announcers there until the championship game, which ESPN sent them there only because they're on national television. If that game was on ESPN Plus, they would have still been in the booth wherever, like, whatever office they were in. And then
they're doing it from the Superdome in New Orleans, by the way.
Yeah, so like they would have still been there if it wasn't nationally televised. One, and then like it's hard for people to get to. It's like not in the middle, like especially the teams up north. Like it's not easy to get to for a lot of these teams and fans, especially like during school.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I don't like about any conference tournament, not just for basketball even, but the baseball tournament. You got games that start at 12 and 1 and 2 and in the afternoon on a weekday. I don't care if you're 2 hours away. That's not feasible for most people, right? That's taking time away from work. Got to get kids out of school in some cases. Worry about a hotel stay if the game goes late. I understand the reasoning for it, right? You can't have a tournament that big in 2 days on a weekend. It's not feasible that way either. But it's just frustrating as a fan when you're like, I want a better location. I want something more convenient for more people. But there's really no great scenario for that. But
I looked up like I just asked like ChatGPT or an AI or whatever, like what's like the biggest city like closest to the middle of all 14 locations in the Sunbelt, and it came back to like Atlanta or like around Atlanta. Yes, Georgia State is there, so obviously they're gonna have a slight advantage. But like, I think that's a big city that it's close to the middle. It's easier for those teams up north to get to. Still kind of hard, but easier. Especially like Atlanta is just such like a big like airport and like whatever, more hotels, like all that stuff. It's just easier to get to. And then like, like you look at the Big Ten tournament, it's in Indianapolis. It's an hour away from Purdue, an hour away from IU. Like all these tournaments are not going to be like, all these tournaments have like a quote unquote home team. It's not the biggest deal that Georgia State is the quote unquote the home team if say like, let's go to like Atlanta.
I guess my thing with Atlanta, I don't dislike Atlanta, right? We can see how it lays out here. Georgia Southern also very close to Atlanta. App State's not terribly far from Atlanta. Coastal. How far are you guys from? You guys might be a decent drive, actually.
I think it's like between like 6 to 8 hours. I think somewhere around there.
I was going to say for me here in the Triangle area of North Carolina, it's about 6 hours from me, so it's not an easy drive, but it's very doable, right? Especially if you have a couple people.
Sounds not super far from Troy. Not terrible, at least. I was also thinking, like, maybe they do, like, it'd be hard to do, like, the home court advantage thing in the Sun Belt just because the teams are so spread out. Like, a lot of these, like, where they, like, the higher seed host are, like, in, like, the Northeast where, like, all the schools are right next to each other. So, but maybe, like, if you go back to, like, the old format, where like it's not like this obviously, but more like the tournament, and maybe like the first like maybe like 1 or 2 rounds is at the host or at the higher seed, and then like from the quarterfinals on you go to a neutral, or like the semifinals and finals you go to a neutral. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of some healthier scenarios for fans to watch these games.
Yeah, I think the Well, let's get into some of these questions, like I said, and then we'll come back to that just a bit. But Ben James says, at least Arkansas State women's team is going dancing for the first time ever, and they made history because it's the 50th season of women's sports at Arkansas State. Nice little note there. Pretty cool to hear that. He says Sunbelt basketball season was the most competitive in Sunbelt history, in my opinion. Yeah, I guess I don't have anything to really back that up, but this tournament was very competitive, right?
Yeah, they had 4 winners, so I guess that's how you can say it was really competitive. 4 people split the regular season title.
True. Yeah, that's very true. I think the teams at the bottom were very far from the top, so that's why I'm like, I don't know, is there one where there's a lot more closeness throughout? But yeah, as far as the top goes, there's definitely one of the most competitive of all time. Tyler saying, as you know, Dom, I'm not a fan of the Sunbelt executive management team. It's like we are backwards on purpose. I'm pretty sure Tyler is one of those ones who's really hard on the fact that they are off location announcing these games. We've referenced it on this show. It's been referenced on Twitterverse as well.
It just looks like we don't care.
Right. The ending for that ODU Texas State game, again, they corrected it, of course, but it kind of like botched in real time because they weren't there to realize that something had gone differently, the buzzer beater that didn't happen. So yeah, it's a tough watch when you're understanding the game and understanding the flow of the game, and the guys there in the booth that do it remotely are still good. That's not their fault, but they are literally watching what we're watching on screen, and sometimes there may be just a slight delay, really, or something, but there's definitely a little bit of a disconnect that would not exist if they were there in person.
On top of it, they have an empty table just sitting at midcourt in the camera shot.
Yes.
It's like they're making it obvious that they're not there.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't have that table there, maybe it'll probably be a lot less obvious that they're not at the location.
Yeah. For those that follow ODU Monarchist podcast, those guys literally set up a live stream, and they had it on them throughout the game, right? They're not allowed to have it facing the court. So it was on them in the stands. And I'm like, man, this is, I don't know if they talked enough or whatever. I didn't get to watch a lot of that. Again, I was on vacation, so I wasn't able to really tune into these things, but I did see some clips afterward where they're, celebrating the big 3 at the end. And there's more energy and emotion and something like that than the broadcast on TV, unfortunately, but who knows? Warren saying, do we know how attendance was and would it be better in Birmingham? I have not looked up final attendance numbers for the tournament itself. I would assume that it would be better close to any home Sunbelt team, right? As Zach alluded to, it's not really like right around the corner from anyone specifically. So if you put it in Birmingham, I definitely think it does better immediately. But do I think it blows it out of the water compared to Pensacola? Not necessarily. Again, a lot of these games being weekday games, maybe early afternoons. I know that the Sunbelt they did do a favor in trying to start these games at like 5 and 6 because they were doing that doubleheader at night. I do like the effort to try and at least have these at night, so like the viewership numbers at least probably look pretty good and whatnot. But yeah, a tough look when there's not really very many people in the stands. And at this point, you've been in Pensacola for a few years. You'd hope that people would come back locally or more people would travel down. It's definitely a nice city to go to, right? Being right there on the beach. I know a lot of the people that were reporting down there had pictures out on the sand and the weather was nice. So not bad in that sense. But as Zach said, you fly into a city like Atlanta, there's all types of things to do, keep you entertained, very easy in and out. We'll have to see, if that changes down the line. I know the baseball tournament has signed a long-term contract for that location, but I don't know how long the basketball tournament. I'd have to check back on that. If someone watching right now knows that off the top of their head, they can certainly let us know. Ben saying South Alabama had the shortest trip. JMU had the farthest trip. I would assume that Marshall actually had the farthest trip because they're quite a bit further north, but Simulated Sports Project saying 100% Dom. I'm not sure exactly which point that was. That's the downside to not keeping up with the comments as they come in, but maybe the fact that it's hard to get there during the week for people that do have to take flights or insanely long car rides, because Ben is alluding to Arkansas State being about 8.5 to 9 hours. So that's not really doable for most of their fans unless, of course, they make it as far as they did and can maybe get to a weekend game. Warren says Troy's only 2.5 to 3 hours. Again, doable on a night, for someone who's okay with staying up late and driving in the dark to get home. But that's still a late night, not easy to go back and forth numerous times if they continue on in the tournament. Obviously, they were one of the top 4 seeds this year specifically, so a lot easier to swallow going over the weekend. But Ben is also saying it's because the Sun Belt isn't a power conference. Maybe that being the point of the announcers. Not really sure if that's exactly what he was talking about or not. I did have a couple other things. He says he's actually updating about 9 to 10 hours, actually, instead of 8.5, 9. I had a couple other notes. Referees. I saw a lot of talk about the officiating. Zach, I know you saw some of the officiating. I saw clips. I saw stuff live. What are your thoughts on the overall officiating of the tournament? Was it consistent? Was it worse than, what we saw throughout the regular season? Or was this maybe just more on a pedestal because of it being a tournament?
I mean, I would say, going to a lot of the Coastal games, there's been some bad refereeing all year. But I think it just being on, like you said, a pedestal because it's the conference tournament, I think that hurts it a lot. I think we just saw the Pitt Notre Dame game yesterday ended because of a really bad call. Like, these bad calls just happen everywhere, but especially when you get in these big situation games, one bad call is gonna go everywhere.
Again, officiated in past life in a different.
It's not an easy job.
It's not an easy job. You always hope for better. You always hope you get the best officials of all time. It's not always going to be the case. Also, what we see from the video vantage point and what they see while they're out there at their angle, at that speed, without the ability of replay until after the fact, it's tough. Now, when they get something wrong after a replay, that's when it's hard to swallow. I think that's the stuff that's more unforgivable, right? I don't know what changes that. I don't know how I forget which game. Maybe you can remind me, Zach. I don't know if you remember either. There was an ejection that was upheld. I think it was in a girls'
Coastal
game.
Coastal women's semifinal.
Yeah, that was
the best player on the team too.
I don't understand how she was tossed from. I understand she got up and pushed the girl.
Yeah, they fell down, and while they were on the ground, she gave her a shove. But I don't understand how that's an ejection.
Right, and because she was pretty much, part of her body was on top of her. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, she doesn't, in the heat of the moment, she doesn't understand the girl just kind of slid and fell into her. But I think you give that ability because there's probably some jawing that's gone back and forth, right? Like, I don't know, a shove to get somebody off of you versus, I don't know, taking 2 or 3 steps to get closer to shove them is certainly different. I don't think that's the same. I think there was at least, I don't know if there was reviews in that Marshall game that was close at the end too. I know that there was a lot of uproar from the Marshall fan base about that ending with on Nate Martin. Nate Martin, was he also tossed? Do I remember in that correct?
I don't think so.
He just I think he got a technical though or something. It was very physical on the one end when they were on offense. They went back down to the other side of the court. I think he grabs a rebound or something, and the guy kind of gets into him with a aggressive rebound again, I guess, and then he kind of sticks out an elbow. He doesn't really deliver a hard elbow, but I guess he sticks out an elbow enough that the referee teed him up, I believe is what happened.
I mean, I also text you at the end of the Coastal game, there was I think we both said there was an obvious hook and hold. I'm not saying that's why Coastal lost the game, but I mean, they were down 2 and Granger gets the rebound, and I forget who it was, but it was an obvious hook and hold. If it's a hook and hold, that's a flagrant. That's 2 free throws in the ball. They just called it a normal foul. He gets 2 free throws. He misses 1 and they lose. But if he missed 1 and got the ball back, they have a chance to win the game. I'm not saying that's why they lost, but I mean, that
was Christian Watson that had essentially an arm bar. Yeah,
they didn't even go to review for that, which was interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the same thing.
Review.
That was one of those. This is one of those ones that is hard for a referee. Obviously, I'll tell you this part just because I've had these same types of vantage point across all sports. Players are getting better at bringing somebody close to them and then acting like they got pushed or there was more
hiding it. Yeah,
it's obviously a lot more evident in basketball, but soccer players are doing it too. Hockey players to some extent are making it look like a cross check's been delivered to their back. That's what Watson was trying to get the referee to do, which obviously didn't work. They called it on the right guy. But like you said, that's a specific call in a basketball game. That's not just any old foul, at least by the rule book definition, and should have been rewarded as such. And instead it was just was it on the floor foul? I mean, what did
it was just on the floor foul. And then Granger got either a 1-and-1 or two foul shots, and then he missed a second.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely something that was pretty. And then, like you said, it was extremely obvious in the replay, which they did not go to.
I'll go after like the coaching staff or like the other player, like, or Granger in general for that. Like, he should have been asking for a review. Like, I didn't see any like rebuttal. Like, hey, like this is a hook and hold. Like, go review this.
Right.
That's and even like if the coach asks, like they almost always do it. Or I think they have to do it almost.
Okay.
So like
that I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that no one even asked for that to happen.
Yeah. I especially in that moment, right? I mean, you've got a chance to win your first round game and move on. You would think they'd be doing whatever they could at that moment. I don't know. Warren is saying they use local announcers for football, so I would think they could get someone to announce at the game site unless cost of equipment be a reason to not have them there. Yeah, I mean, the first year I remember them doing it remotely.
Yeah, I think it's just the last 2 years because I think a few seasons ago they were still doing people on site, but I remember last year they didn't, and then this year obviously they didn't.
Yeah, I thought it was a COVID year that they'd started. Maybe
no, because I remember a few years ago when I was still in school that they had people at local. Maybe they came back for a year and then went to like from afar.
Ben says, I wonder what it takes to be a ref.
A bunch of tests, licensing and classes.
Yes. I can't tell you the basketball experience, but I can tell you from the soccer experience.
Like you said, like I know what it is from like the soccer point of view. I had to go to like classes for like a few weeks or whatever. It wasn't like every day or anything, but a couple hour classes for a few weeks. And then you have to take a test. And if you pass the test, you get a license. But this is also the college level. So like they almost certainly have to do some more testing. They all are well experienced, probably 20 plus years at least in the business. So, I mean, it's not like these guys didn't earn their chance to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that. Yeah. Warren says, will be a great question for Media Day to get an answer. Yeah, they do a great one for football where they literally have the head of officiating for the sunbelt, which is also the head of officiating for the SEC as they share officials. And he always runs a really cool presentation to kind of go over like, hey, this is what we've talked about. This is what we try and get better at. This is some exact examples of what we've seen and what we're going to try and do better with moving forward. I know, again, from the soccer aspect that I was a part of, it's just as integral even at the high school level. So these guys do put a lot of time and effort in. They're not trying to be terrible referees on purpose. I can assure you that they do get graded and they will lose or gain jobs depending on how well or bad of a job they do.
Another thing for Media Day real quick. I hope they go back to the in-person Media Days. Hopefully it was just like a 1 year thing.
Yeah, I did the virtual basketball Media Day, and Thomas can tell us what he thinks about that. I'd rather do one where they're on site somewhere and they get some people in front, like the football one. There's at least one coach, and there's the head coach, and there's always at least two players from each team that get brought in, which I think is a good way to learn a little bit about the team from rather than just the coach or just the players. You kind of get a little bit of both, and obviously it gives the teams and their coach specifically a great opportunity to push their guys that have been working hard or should be rewarded for whatever they're doing. But Thomas, Warren is saying, go Thomas with some swords there. So welcome to the show, my man.
What's up?
Thanks for joining us. I apologize. I did not realize that the link never sent to you properly. So
no, you're all good. All good.
All right. Well, first of all, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. Doing great. Still riding high on the win a little bit. Feeling good.
Nice. Well, you should be, man. You got, what was it, 14 points, 9 rebounds in that championship game. A big part, an integral part, really throughout the season, obviously. But in that game as well, a big part of what Troy was able to do to get that victory. What was it? We've been talking about it before you got here a little bit. What was it like in Pensacola? I mean, both on and off the court. I mean, is it a place you've been before? Did you enjoy it more or less this time? Obviously, the ending was better, but I mean, just throughout the whole experience, what was it like for you guys?
Yeah, no, I think it was great. Last year we were kind of one and done, in and out, so I didn't really get to experience it much. But I had a lot of fun this year. Even at all the teams stay on hotels on the beach, so that's a good experience. And then the environment at the arena was fantastic, especially in that championship game. Even Arc State, like that's not like an easy drive to make. They had a crazy crowd also, so it was a really fun environment.
Yeah, I know that, and Ben's our resident Red Wolves fan. Obviously disappointed with the loss, but they had a chance to make a little bit of history. I think, if I remember correctly on the broadcast, there was never been a time in the sunbelt where the women's and men's team both moved on to the big dance on the same year, or at least it hasn't been in many years or something like that. So they were there for a shot at history. You helped prevent that, and you get your team to the big dance for the first time in, what was it, 8 years? Since 2017, I think?
Yeah, 2017.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Zach, you got a question for him?
Yeah, I'd say I'll go back a little bit. Like, what do you think like the turning point in the season was that kind of like helped you guys prepare for this run?
Honestly, when we dropped that game to Louisiana at home, I think that was kind of we had just gone on the road and played a great game against Arc State and came out with the win, and we're riding on our high horse, and we go back home against Louisiana, who we had just beat by like 20 a week ago, and we lose to them. And I think that kind of opened everyone's eyes and kind of I think we did a good job of taking the lesson from it and really locking in, because I mean we didn't lose a game after that. But I think that was one of those losses that just kind of opens your eyes for the betterment of the team. And I think everyone really locked in after that loss.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna go back even further than Zach just did. So you're from Dothan, Alabama. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Dothan?
Yep, Dothan.
Okay, just want to make sure. It seems rather easy, but I just want to make sure. It's obviously not far from Troy. I mean, I just looked it up to officially. It's like it says an hour and 8 minutes. I'm sure if you guys drive one shortcut gets you there in under an hour or something. But is this a spot that as a youngster you knew about, you looked towards before, or is this something that kind of came about once you got to a certain point in high school playing great basketball?
Not really. I grew up an Alabama fan. We had a good old Auburn Alabama rivalry in my family. So I grew up an Alabama fan, didn't really know much about Troy. Like I never went to any games, never went to any football games, anything like that. And then I think 10th grade we went to a team camp, and that's when I met Coach Cross, and he kind of kept up with me since then. And just all the right pieces fell into place. And I love it here. It's great being close to home too. All my family gets to come to the games, but I never really knew much about Troy before 10th grade when my recruitment started picking up.
Did you have other Sunbelt teams also trying to recruit you, or?
Not really. So I think my first offer was like Alabama State, and then I went to a ton of camps throughout I got my Troy offer in 10th grade. It was my second one, so that was pretty early. And I went to some camps and whatnot throughout the years. A lot of interest from schools, but none ever reached out another offer or anything. And I would talk to my travel coach and my high school coach. I was like, why didn't these other teams like I know I'm good enough to play. They're like, why don't they? And they said that what coaches would tell them is they didn't think they could get me to not go to Troy, so they didn't really see the point. And I mean, if I'm being honest, I probably wouldn't have gone to any other Sunbelt school but Troy. So
nice.
Yeah, it all worked out.
I like that answer. I know Troy fans love that answer. So, Zach, you had a question I think we talked about before he got on here about family size or something like that.
Oh
yeah. We saw that you have 10 siblings. What was that like growing up?
I loved it. We're all still super close. They come to, they're scattered all over now, but my family that still is in Alabama and even like Georgia and even Texas, they come to the games when we go to Texas State, but they've been coming to the games all year. And it's just been it's been great, to be honest. But growing up, you could go outside and we'd have a 5-on-5 basketball game in the driveway. So, there's definitely some perks to that.
Yeah. Where you fall in the oldest and youngest thing?
I was the youngest, but we adopted a couple years ago. But I was the youngest until I was like 16. So I grew up being the youngest of 10. So that was definitely a fun experience, getting bullied a lot. I got 6 older brothers. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are some of them old enough to be like married with their own kids and everything already?
Oh, yeah. My sister, well, you're going to also think this is crazy. She was at the games, actually. She lives in Auburn, but she has 8 kids.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So she's my oldest sister. She's 36, I think. So we're like a 16-year age gap.
Oh, wow.
And I actually have, I think it's 19 nieces and nephews now.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Huge, big old family.
You just buy birthday cards in bulk, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Christmas gets crazy.
Yeah. That is nuts. We went to the thing, and maybe this could help you. We went to the thing where like we only got kids gifts, but it sounds like you still have a bunch of that to do too. Like
a lot of my
for each other, but
a lot of my older siblings, now that they're really getting like their own families more, they'll do their own stuff. But like 2 years ago, everyone tried to come back to Dothan for Christmas, and we had to get like an extra. My parents had to rent an extra Airbnb because everyone couldn't fit in our house. So it's crazy. It's fun though. I love it.
You need to have like a barn dominium with 19 rooms for everybody to be in there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Zach, you got another question?
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously you're living out a lot of college basketball fans' dreams, going to March Madness. So has it like really hit you yet, or is that going to happen on Selection Sunday, or like when did that happen?
I mean, after the game, like just all the emotions after the game, really. I went to go hug Coach Cross, who's usually a very, he's a great guy off the court, but obviously as a coach, he's always a very serious, tough, hard-nosed, like hard hat working guy. And I went to give him a hug, and he was crying, and it was just like, holy crap! Like that's kind of when it set for me. I started crying too. I honestly didn't think I'd ever cry tears of joy, and I did. So that was honestly crazy. But I really don't think it'll truly set in until we're on the court at March Madness, because I know I'll get another surreal feeling from that.
I mean, how much do you guys, as the players of the team, recognize what he's done to be a coach who has coached a team to 20-plus wins for 4 straight years, and kind of finally getting rewarded with this? Obviously, you guys reward yourselves because a lot of that hard work is also yours, and everyone's doing stuff in the background to make it happen. But what did that feel like to just get to that moment then?
Yeah, it was, we all have the absolute utmost respect for Coach Cross. Just even like in the summer when we were doing our workouts, he would work out with us every single day, our exact same workouts in the weight room. And, I don't know if there's many other Division I coaches doing that with their teams. So, he kind of forces us to have the utmost respect for him. And, everyone on the team kind of knows how he got done dirty a little bit over at UTA. So, just all the emotions for him, we know that he's worked insanely hard for this and that he deserves it.
Yeah, one thing I didn't realize was the T-shirt aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Could you tell us about, like, was that solely him? Was that like a team idea? I mean, how did it happen? And do you have a favorite? I got to ask if you have a favorite one.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's just what he's done for all of his teams, because we've done it both years that I've been here. He calls them win shirts. And we get one after every win, and he comes up with all the designs and gets them printed. He pays for them out of his own pocket, and we hang them up on the wall after we get them. And I don't know if I can find it right now, but we have one that says Trojan House in the Waffle House letters. But instead of waffle, it says Trojan, because for the past 2 years, just our team's thing has been like whenever we all go out to eat somewhere, we all go to Waffle House. So he got us a Trojan House shirt last year. So I'd probably say that's my favorite.
I do like that. I like that it's sticking out like that with the little Waffle House thing. Zach, are you a Waffle House guy?
I've only had it a few times, but I mean, yeah, especially like late at night. There's not much else open.
Here, give me 1 second.
All right, yeah. I want to see this thing. While he does that, I'll put up his stat sheet for the year so far. Played in 33 games this year as a sophomore, and by the way, he played in 31 games as a freshman. So there's some consistency for you across the board. Averaged 25.2 minutes per game. He had 9.8 points per game average, 6.8 rebounds per game average, field goal percentage of 42.9 with a 3-point percentage of 30.3. He was first on the team in three-pointers made and first on the team in rebounds, and it was a pretty clear advantage on the rebound aspect. That happens when you're 6'8", right, Thomas?
Oh, yeah. I can't find it. Sorry. I got a lot of good, dirty clothes from traveling, so I can't find it. But yeah,
makes sense. It's a college dorm room for a reason, right?
Yeah.
We've got an interesting thing that I know nothing about, so we're definitely going to have to lean on you for this answer. Warren wants to know what's more intense: Enterprise versus Dothan, or Troy versus South Alabama.
Hey, Enterprise versus Dothan gets rocking. Definitely just. The fields of college basketball, it's Troy South, but that was about as close as you'd get in a high school game in South Alabama. Enterprise versus Dothan got rocking, and I actually the last time I played them, we beat them all 3 times my senior year, and I hit a buzzer beater in like a packed gym to beat them the last time I played them. So it definitely gets crazy, Enterprise Dothan.
And I'm assuming you played for Dothan, right?
Yes, I played for Dothan.
Okay. Is it like the same? You're right there in the same city, or is it just like the next city over?
They're about 30 minutes away.
Okay.
Yeah. Both 7A though, always been a big rivalry. It's great. I still go watch them during the season if I can make it to the games. So.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
We got a problem here, though. Ben says he's not a Waffle House fan. Oh, no, Ben. Oh, no, man.
I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, there are good and bad Waffle Houses. I will admit that. I've been to both. But, yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than a late-night Waffle House run.
Yeah, I don't see where you can go wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure there either. Going back to kind of basketball aspect of things, though, is there somebody as you grew up that you watched either in college or the NBA that you kind of try and model your game after?
I mean, definitely my favorite player growing up was always KD. When I was growing up, I was a tall, lanky, skinny kid, but I liked to play out on the perimeter instead of just being forced to be you're the tallest kid, you're going to play center. So I always loved KD. I'd say definitely in high school I might have played a little bit more like him, but obviously I've had to find my role on a college team. So I've actually gotten the nickname The Worm now from Troy fans and my teammates because of Dennis Rodman, and I even got my own little shirt. But I guess I'm a Dennis Rodman fan now.
There you go. But you weren't even alive when Dennis Rodman was in his heyday, though.
I know. I do love The Last Dance, though. So take that for what it's worth.
Well, all right. So if anybody who's a NIL person is here, you need to get them to latch on to you with that nickname and do something fun with it. I don't know what you could do, but there's probably
maybe like a fertilizer spot.
some you plaster you in some Troy colors on some fishing bait with worms, and you got a deal right there. Oh man, yeah, no, that's a good one. I wouldn't have thought. It's always harder for us outsiders to know the history of stuff like that, right? Like I would have never known you'd even know who the hell Dennis Rodman was, right? I'm not even sure how much Zach knows. I mean, I know he knows of the name, obviously. Zach, you weren't alive when Dennis Rodman.
I'm like the same age as him, so
yeah. Yeah. Now I'm closer to 40, so there you go.
Yeah.
2 years away from 40. So I remember those days. I wasn't probably old enough to like take it all in and know exactly what was going on. I just knew he was like the bad boy of NBA basketball, and yeah, it was fun to watch because of that.
So,
but
yeah,
you're not going to dye your hair different colors and everything else like he did, though, right?
I don't know if I'm prepared to go through with it, but I did have a deal with my roommate, and it's Theo Sang. We both play the four, so we're really close. He's my roommate also, but I did have a deal with him for the past 2 years that if we made March Madness after the tournament, I would buzz my hair. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if I go through with it. But
has that been done before? Or is this really like a first time thing for you?
I've never buzzed my, and I definitely don't have the head shape for it, but I did make a promise, so I might have to. I think I'm going to have to go through with it.
All right. Before you do, this is very important. Is there a girlfriend in the picture who's going to have thoughts and feelings on this?
Oh, yeah. She's so against it. So against it. But we're too far in. We've been dating about 2 years now, so she has no choice but to let it happen.
She'll have fun with it if it gets buzzed and be able to feel it. But yeah, that's a checkpoint you have to at least stop by. You can't just do it without saying anything to her. I feel
For sure.
Zach, you got the long hair too, man. You ever had a buzz cut?
Oh yeah, several times.
All right.
There's a reason why I got long hair, just like him. Head shape is just not for it.
Yeah. I'm the same. Well, I also have like the fair skin, as you can probably see on camera, and the you can't see it on my face as much, but on my arms and everything, I'm freckled up. So if I buzz my head, I can't go out in the sun. It has to be a hat only because it'll just be red everywhere. Yeah. Not a good look for me. It's been 2 decades probably since I've had my hair buzz. I think I lasted it sometime just after high school, college age. But it is nice though. I will tell you this: you can like roll out of bed, ain't nothing to worry about, right? Just move on with the day. So there are advantages.
And I've thrown out the idea of getting the Power T, dyed into it if I do it, like our logo. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. And you're saying this is like during the tournament, or
no, okay. No, not during the tournament. After.
Can't embarrass yourself on national television, man.
If you want some media attention, though, that would grab eyes.
It would. There'd be some questions for sure. So kind of speaking to that aspect of things, of not messing with the hair during the tournament or whatever, are there superstitions that you have? Something you do every time before a game or every time before a free throw? You got some stuff you stay very consistent with? Definitely.
I can't do it as much now because we have so many road games. I don't get the choice. But at home games I eat Subway before every game. What's something else that I do? Oh, I wear the same pair of shorts to sleep before game day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the sub at Subway always the exact same sub, same ingredients, all that?
Yeah. Same sandwich every time, same cookies, same blue Gatorade. And then I, not really particular, but I always like to have a piece of candy before the game. Usually like, I don't know, some Starburst or like some Skittles or something. And then I would definitely say I'm superstitious, but not like too bad. Like I always take a deep breath before my free throws, just kind of get relaxed. But I just try to keep pretty much the same routine most game days. Don't want to switch too much stuff up.
Here, I got a secondary question that's kind of related to that. It's something I've always just wanted to know. At the pro level, it's different. Like people take care of some of these things and everything. I guess at the college level, that some aspect of this is happening. Do you go through like numerous pair of shoes per season, or are you sticking with like one pair?
I blow through sneakers like no one's business. I particularly like Hardens, and we had a pair of team ones. I had a pair of like these old Harden 3s that I bought myself because they're my favorite shoes. And I've blown through probably 3 pairs of those this year. And then we got some new Hardens, some team ones, and I blew through those. We got those probably to start conference, and I blew through those. And then Theo, my roommate, he didn't like them, so he let me have his, and I already blew through those as well. So I think I've gone through like 5 pairs of shoes this season. But definitely, I try to stick to Hardens. They're definitely my favorite.
Okay. So you guys wear the same shoe size. What shoe size is it?
14.
Dang. Nope. I'll be walking around like a clown wearing those things.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Yeah. I'm nowhere close to a 14 size shoe. Zach, what size shoe you working with over there?
A 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like
a more normal.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like 11 and a half at the most. Just depends on the brand, right? But yeah, not a 14.
Yeah.
That's insane. You got to shop specialty for that stuff or order online, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to find some shoes. Well, we get some team shoes, obviously, but, I have particular pairs that I like sometimes, so it is kind of hard to find. I'll definitely say, I'm from Dothan. I like my jeans and boots. So those are jeans are freaking hassle to find for sure. They no one makes. I wear such a weird size because I'm so tall but kind of skinny also. So it's hard to find, but we make it work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Zach, do you have any other questions lined up?
I guess just what would you like to say to the people out there listening, both Troy fans and non-Troy fans, about what to expect going into the tournament?
I have a lot of confidence in this team right now. I think we're playing the best we've played all year. We're definitely peaking at the right time. I think we play defense at such a high level. We rebound at such a high level that we could definitely shake something up in the tournament. I think we're really excited. We feel like we're one of those teams that why, we always have said, why not us? So we feel like, why can't we be one of those Cinderella teams?
Yeah,
where we're just supreme confidence right now.
Nice, I like that. We won't push too hard on thoughts and feelings on this, but these are the current projections as I grabbed this afternoon before we jumped on here. So yeah. ESPN, everyone has as you as a 14, so I think that's almost assured. Obviously, everyone could be wrong. We've seen it happen before when the committee does something. But for the most part, looks like a 14 seed slotted in there. But there's a couple different teams you could be matching up against. Yeah. ESPN's got their bracketology with Texas A&M. CBS Sports got you going up against Iowa State. And then both Bleacher Report and Fox Sports have you facing Texas Tech. Is there – I mean, just from the outside, I know you're not diving deep into any of these because you don't even know the matchup. Yeah. Is there anything about any of these 3 teams you just kind of know off the top of your head, or somebody that plays for them or anything like that?
Off the top of my head, all I really know is that, because we're so good at it also, is that A&M is, I think, the best team in the country at offensive rebounding. Okay. And we play very similar to them because we would always, just like some of our principles and stuff, we refer to what they do. So I know we play very similar to them. I know Iowa State, I'm not quite sure this year, but usually they have a really good defense, and I don't know much about Texas Tech, to be honest. But we're still kind of hoping for that, all the projected 13 seeds, none of them have actually won their conference yet.
Okay.
And, we're supposed to be the highest 14 seed. So if one of those 4 don't end up winning their conference, we're still hoping we could get a 13. So we'll see what happens.
Well, this is what I like. This is why we ask these questions, right? Because you just provided us that information that I didn't know off the top of my head, as far as because I'm just looking at the stuff that they put out there like this, and it's hard sometimes for these services to tell you exactly where who is the number 1 14 and whatnot. But it's interesting to me because a lot of other times in other sports you hear, we don't really care who we play. We don't care where we go. But I like the fact that you guys are interested in where you're going to end up. I know that has nothing to do with who you're playing, but I like the fact that you guys are paying attention to this and knowing that you could improve your spot without even playing another game before that happens. So that's pretty cool. I'm personally hoping you end up in Raleigh for personal reasons because it's right down the road. Even Zach might be able to make that trip up because it's a very easy trip for me. I don't think any of these projections against any of these teams, unfortunately, are in Raleigh. I think The first one's Milwaukee with Texas A&M. I'm not sure where the other three would be at. But
we were talking to our SID. He says that there's a good chance it's either Milwaukee or Seattle. So, you know, I'm not a big fan of the cold. So we'll see. But I mean, you know, we're not going to complain no matter where we go. We're just super excited to play. So we're not too worried about all that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like you said, hopefully by then it's not that much colder anymore. Maybe like in the mornings or something. But by the time you guys would play your game, you know, should be much of an aspect. Warren's asking which region. I didn't label these with regions. I thought about that. Some of them were better labeled than others when it came to the region aspect. At least one of them was labeled as the South region, I thought, but maybe not because of where you just said, right? I mean,
I think the West is one we've heard.
Okay.
All I've really heard about is the West, but I don't really know much after that.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is what's it's kind of fun to pay attention to now because you've done the work, right? Like now it's just paying attention to see what happens from here. Yeah,
you know, I'll probably, you know, me and some of my teammates, we just love watching college basketball in general, so we'll be paying attention to some of these. I think it's like Liberty, Akron, GCU, and Yale maybe that we would maybe need to drop one. So, you know, we just love watching basketball in general. So it's kind of fun to see what happens. And we're just excited.
I know we are equally excited. Obviously, we're not necessarily Troy specific fans, but I don't care who goes from the conference. I'm always going to be pulling for them. That is regardless of the sport. That goes for when football teams go to bowl games and baseball teams go to, you know, regional aspects and everything else. So I'm pumped to be a Troy fan for at least some portion of time, and definitely a big Thomas Dowd fan now because you gave us your time and availability. I don't know, Zach, were there any more questions you had for him?
No, I mean, I guess be interested to see where you guys land and good luck.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess the only other thing I had was
anything about the season or playing, you know.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I didn't ask that I did want was like, what do you do outside of basketball, right? Why you guys are watching some games and everything else? You got to have probably something. I don't know if I know Zach's a gamer. Are you a gamer?
I do enjoy playing some Xbox. Me and some of my teammates will play. I don't know if you've ever played NBA Jam.
Yes.
But we were playing that last night. Me and some of the guys actually right before I came to do this, we were out on we have the practice football fields right next to the arena. We went out there and we were throwing the football around, and so you know we just like to hang out. You know, this team's super close. We love each other's company. You know, just playing video games, watching basketball. You know, throwing the football around, whatever it is.
Were you a multi-sport athlete in high school then?
I was, but I played soccer.
Okay.
Yeah, I do love soccer. I really enjoyed playing it, but I stopped playing. I played my whole life, stopped playing my senior year because I was already on track to go to Troy. So my coach kind of recommended just don't, he didn't want to have me do something stupid a month before I came to campus. So
that makes sense. The more you get up in those rankings of better players, they don't want getting hurt playing another sport. But you also have to weigh the whole aspect of but it keeps the kid in great shape, you know, outside of the other aspect. Did you play? I mean, I'm sure you played at least goalkeeper sometimes. Is that what you played mostly?
When I was younger, I played goalkeeper a lot. And then I took a year off. I didn't play soccer in 9th grade. And then the high school coach that was there at the time, knew all my brothers, coached all my brothers and whatnot. So he wanted me to come back and play striker. So that's what I played in high school. And, you know, it was so fun. I had a blast. Still love the guys and keep up with the guys from those soccer teams. So soccer definitely has a special place in my heart. I played a little bit of football, but wasn't ever too passionate about it.
I'm guessing that you were the corner kick specialist as far as getting into the box and being a target for the headers.
Yeah, it was actually kind of a curse because I would meet the ball too high, and I'd hit it straight, and my hitting it straight would be over the goal. So it kind of was a curse sometimes.
That is
too
funny to think about. That makes sense, but it's funny to hear that, right? Because like I'm not vertically challenged in that regard. So like I'm 6'2" at best, and a jump still barely puts me up at the head meeting the bar. So at work I'm probably hitting a crossbar. You're over there 2 feet above it. It's kind of crazy, man.
Yeah, it's funny.
That is good. But yeah, I can see why they just put you in the goal as the younger kid. Put the tall kid in net, right? Like,
yeah, I love goalie too. I had a blast playing that.
Yeah, you were okay with diving left and right to get the ball and everything.
Oh yeah, lateral slides helped with basketball.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. Now, I believe Troy does not have a soccer team, correct?
We have a women's soccer team. We don't have a men's.
It blows my mind that more teams in this conference don't have soccer.
Yeah, I don't even think Auburn has a official like NCAA men's team.
And the SEC doesn't even sponsor men's soccer.
Oh, they don't? Oh, there's that.
Kentucky is in the sunbelt for soccer. West Virginia is in the sunbelt for soccer. I think those are the only two like non-full-time members, but then we only have like a handful of teams of the 14 full membership teams that actually have teams as well.
Yeah, I know Marshall's legit every year.
Yes. But I just I know you can't see it, but this picture right here is from the national championship game because that was just down the road for me. So I got to go cover that with the Sunbelt Syndicate stuff going on. So yeah, Marshall, I don't know how and why. I guess it's the coach really, but they get like so many foreign players to come over, and some of those guys are 25, 26 years old. And
West Virginia is the same way.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, and they're both in the same state, right? So they're just
they're both right next to each other.
Bragging rights. Yeah. It's kind of crazy, but the very passionate fan base. I just don't understand it because like, and Thomas, speak to this. Alabama is actually a very hot recruiting bred for soccer. There's a lot of really good quality soccer players that come out of Alabama and go to other institutions to play. So, I mean, did you see a lot of guys or know some that are, playing at top level stuff now?
Not top levels. Two of my really good friends from high school, they play at AUM, Auburn Montgomery. They're D2. Okay. And they went to like the national championship for D2 last year. So, I mean, that's still legit. And then not necessarily from Dothan, but just from like around the state for sure. Like I know more up north in Alabama. There's some soccer powerhouses, but there's definitely a lot of good players out of Alabama for soccer.
Yeah, I just I don't understand the thought process of not having more soccer teams in the state of Alabama for the colleges anyway. Because again, you got plenty of talent. I think there's a number of showcases that even happen down there for like high schools for recruiters to go down and see, and it just blows my mind because like football or maybe baseball, there's a lot of equipment to take. I could see why you don't want to field a team because it's expensive to have a stadium and whatnot. Soccer's so much easier, right? Like you just put a couple stands on both sides. You got a field of grass or a turf field if you need that, and you just play. It just seems kind of easy, but I don't know. Strange. But interesting because I was a soccer guy too, and I don't know if you were picking up on that when we were just jumping in. We were talking about officiating. That's what I used to do on the side as well before I really went full bore on this aspect of things. And video aspect of staying home is a little easier with a young kid in the house now. So, are you're a true sophomore, by the way, or you have like? Last year was your true freshman year, is that right?
Yeah, I'm a true sophomore. Just played 2 years, no redshirt or medical or anything.
Very nice. Do you? Yeah. I mean, obviously, this is thinking ahead and all that stuff. Maybe you haven't got this far in your thought process. Is this kind of, maybe take advantage of a fifth year? Or you think you're pretty much straight, 1 through 4 and be done?
I think I'll probably go straight 1 through 4 and be done. I mean, I don't know what's happening. Like, I've heard a million things about, like, the whole eligibility. Like, maybe they'll give everyone 5 years. So, I mean, if they give everyone 5 years, then I'd probably do a fifth year. But, right now I haven't thought about that too much. I'd like to just play all 4 years in a row.
And you could skip out on that 5th year if that 3-letter abbreviation for the top league in the world comes calling for your name.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, you like to put that out in the universe because everyone has hopes and dreams. But yeah, I mean, starting and playing, I guess I should say, 31 games as a true freshman, and now you played in every single game, right? 33 games. That's all of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Speaks to multiple things, right? Your talent level, but also your ability to stay healthy, which is obviously very important when you're such an integral part for the offensive and defensive rebounding aspect of your team. So, man, I don't know, Zach. Did you come up with anything else while we were talking?
Yeah. So growing up, is there anyone that you played against or played with that is either in the NBA or professionally overseas or even at a high major level performing?
Let me see here. So I played with, I don't know. He's injured this year. Not high level, but he went to Kennesaw State. His name's RJ Johnson. Pretty good out of high school. He had a great freshman year last year. I played AU with him. Kid named David Thomas. I played AU with. He's playing over at DePaul. I played against a ton of guys, but I never really Alabama has an EYBL team, but I never played for them. I kind of played for a smaller travel ball team on Under Armour's non-official circuit. So I didn't play with anyone too crazy, but I definitely played. I feel with a lot of really good players.
Yeah. What do you think about the Sun Belt overall as a basketball conference? I feel like the unfortunate part is every time we have a good team or two, these other conferences and these other teams that have more NIL money and collectives to give out to some of these guys, they're stealing some of our better players. Do you kind of feel that, or do you feel like they replenish very well throughout the conference?
I think the Sun Belt kind of gets a bad, not a bad rap, but kind of gets overlooked a little bit. Our state is just as good as any mid-major in the country. I think we are too. South Alabama was amazing this year. JMU was really good this year, and I feel like no one really ever talks about or really cares about the Sun Belt as much as they should. I think we're a really good conference with a ton of really good talent. It sucks that we're only a one-bid league.
I think specifically this year, and I'll put up the standings as we talk about that a little bit. I mean, you could see those top 4 teams all tied at 13 and 5 overall, and all shared the conference championship as it goes for the regular season. Obviously, we have Thomas on from the champions of the tournament that will go represent us. Well, you can see that. I mean, they're all 20 plus or 20 win teams, I guess, because JMU didn't get over 20 technically. But yeah, I mean, they're all pretty good. I mean, even Marshall came on strong at the end of the year, right? 12-6, 20-13 overall.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Ark State beat Memphis at Memphis. If you actually watched, we're definitely playing a lot better than we did at the beginning of the season. But if you actually watch some of our games against Houston and Oregon and Arkansas, the scoreboard might not show it, but those are good games. South played TCU close. JMU played a lot of good teams all season. I mean, even Marshall, 3 of their conference losses were 1 point, including ours. So I think people don't quite grasp how good and competitive the Sun Belt is.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize it. I knew that they obviously had a number of good, talented guys on their team. I think they're the only team in the conference, Marshall is, that had every single starting 5 guy average double figures in points for the season, which is crazy because that's not easy to do.
No.
So, yeah, I know that there was a lot of thought process. They may be a sleeper in that conference tournament, and they had a chance to be.
We were watching that Marshall Ark State game. That was a battle. That was a great game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I know there was some thoughts and feelings, and that's why we were bringing up the some of the officiating. into this. We won't make you say anything on that. We're not trying to get you in trouble for anything. You guys don't have too much to complain about anyway, because you now have the trophy at home. But you have a little piece of net right there near you.
Wait, yes, I do. Let me see. It's in my backpack.
Nice.
Yeah. I left my hat at the arena, but I got the net in my backpack. I got me a big old fat piece.
Nice.
With a couple of nuts in it. So, might get this like framed or something. It's definitely super cool experience.
Yes, it is. Yes. I do have a question on the net itself. I don't know if you guys noticed it when you're playing. I mean, I'm sure you do. I felt like the ball, like those nets were like brand new and like really firm or something. It was a very weird looking ball we got in there.
The ball kept getting stuck. It was kind of annoying. Like we're trying to warm up over there, and just warming up, we're doing like our layups, and it's getting stuck every time. Kind of getting annoying, but at the same time, I think everyone was so locked in that we didn't notice it too much, and it didn't bother us too much.
Yeah, I don't think I saw a single broadcast where they mentioned it being any kind of factor, but like as a viewer, I'm like, I don't think I've watched a basketball game all season that had this look of how the ball was going and getting, like you said, stuck in the net or slowing down a lot. Just kind of a weird feel to it from an outside perspective. So I was certain you guys had noticed it, but I didn't know if it was bothersome. But it seems like, at least in the warm up, it was a little bit more so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, when I was up there, when I went up there to cut my net, it took me a while. The scissors couldn't get through it. Like, I don't know. Maybe they were just using industrial grade nets or something.
It seemed like it. That's for sure. I don't know, Zach. Did you notice that too? It was like a very obvious thing for me to see.
I mean, I think I might have noticed it like a few times, but like, I mean, it didn't really like stand out like completely for me.
Okay, because it was. I'm kind of with Thomas. Like, it was annoying for me to watch. Yeah. I'm like, the guy's like underneath the basket waiting for it to fall like instantaneously, right? And it's just like this weird delay for just a split second, right? But I mean, it's still just noticeable. I felt like, but it was straight. It's like they put brand new nets, like Thomas said, like the strongest nets they could find. It's like I don't know. It's like playing on one of those outdoor metal nets, basketball, asphalt court or something. Very, very strange. I've never seen anything like that, at least so consistently, right? Like, you think, okay, the first game or two, they'll wear these things in and it gets better, but it seemed to be like all the way up through the championship game, I was even still seeing it. So,
I mean, we were asking ourselves, we were like, are they like replacing these nets every game? Because I was talking with one of my teammates. I was like, you figure like with brand new nets, it'll happen like a couple times, but then it gets broken in enough. But like, we thought they might have just been switching the nets out every game.
They may have, because
I don't know.
Like you said, it didn't seem to dissipate. Well, they'll switch out the nets, but they won't put live broadcasters at the game. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Do you guys as players have any thoughts on that? Like, obviously, it's probably not a big factor of any sort, but like, do you notice it or not notice it, or?
Not really. It is a little weird, and I mean, this is nitpicking, but definitely, like, when I watch the games back, it does annoy me a little bit, because there's just some aspects that they can't like realize about the game, like not being there in person. So, not too many complaints, but I do think it's kind of weird. Like, I don't really know why. Yeah,
I think like you said, usually they sit at the scorer's table, right? And they're right there in the action. They can see, like you said, they can see a foul explanation. Hell, they're so close that literally when the referees come over to explain the call, they're hearing it live. So if they need a better explanation, they just stop talking for a second, and then they can tell the viewers instantaneously it's this type of foul, or oh, well, the guy just said this, type of thing. And obviously they don't have any of that aspect when they're remote. So it's a very
I mean, like, I remember last year, like, App State was the 1 seed and they were playing Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern hit like a buzzer beater to win on the broadcast. Everyone thought Georgia Southern hit the buzzer beater, but then it turns out the broadcast and the commentators were wrong and the clock was off. And I remember like everyone on Twitter was like so annoyed that like why are they not there in real life? Why is the clock not? Because like you don't have that if the commentators are there in real life. So
right, yeah, they don't make that mistake. You're right. Yeah, that's when it matters, right? And that's what stinks is like those are the biggest moments of the tournament, right? Like if that happens, you don't want to backtrack and everything. So yeah, not a great look. I don't know. I continue to see every year people pressuring the conference, like live tweeting them, like why don't we have this and everybody else has this and everything else. Hopefully at some point that means something and they make the change. I'm sure the guys that call it want to be there. Like I would assume. So
yeah.
I don't know. I also thought it was weird that like they have these guys that get to know these players throughout the season and specifically even more so throughout the tournament. They call all the games, and then on the championship game, they switch the guys that are calling the game.
Yeah.
I do like that they were there, right? The ESPN guys were actually there, but it's kind of weird that you guys or that they have these guys so well involved, and then they're like, all right, we're going to bring in the other true professionals now to do the big game,
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, Zach. We might actually be where we've run out of questions for Thomas at this point, talking about announcers again. But yeah, man, this was great, man. I'm glad to have gotten to know you better throughout this, and certainly wish you guys and Troy Trojan fans and faithful overall the best of luck going into the tournament. Basketball season ain't done, right? We're gonna be back around here too to preview whoever you end up playing. We will certainly have you or somebody else back on if we can and kind of talk about that aspect. And we'll be wishing the Trojan faithful all the luck moving forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank everybody for tuning in. Zach, you got any last words before we get out of here?
No, man. Like I said, just thank you for joining us and good luck in your game.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Oh, Warren's got one last thing. It's a good one. Go Troy.
I agree, Warren.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
All right. See ya.